Until we meet again, remember, the cross of Christ is not just a symbol, it's your key to divine protection and countless blessings. May your home become a beacon of divine protection and peace. May the crucifixes in your home radiate the power and presence of Christ himself. And may Padre Pio's intercession accompany you on this journey of spiritual transformation. Thank you for joining me in this powerful revelation. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more spiritual teachings that can transform your life. Remember, the changes we've discussed don't always happen overnight, but they do happen for those who persist in faith. Start today. Even if you need to begin with small steps, get your crucifix blessed if you haven't already. Begin the morning and evening practices we discussed. Make your home a place where the power of the cross is honored and active. My dear brothers and sisters, may God bless you abundantly as you implement these teachings. It contains even more detailed instructions and prayers to help you maximize the protective power of your crucifix. Before we end, I want to share one final teaching from Padre Pio about the crucifix. He said, "Every time you look at the cross, remember that it's not just a symbol of past suffering, but a promise of present victory." Let these words sink deep into your heart as you begin implementing these practices in your home. This simple act of faith will be your first step toward implementing these powerful teachings in your life. Remember, thousands of homes have already been transformed through these practices. Yours can be next. For those who want to go deeper into these teachings, don't forget about our special ebook, The Spiritual Secrets of St. Padre Pio, available through the link in the description. But here's what I want you to remember most. The crucifix in your home isn't just a symbol, it's a channel of divine grace, a source of protection, and a reminder of God's endless love for you. When you honor it properly, following Padre Pio's teachings, you're not just decorating your home, you're creating a sanctuary of divine presence. Now, I have a special invitation for you. If this message has touched your heart, write in the comments, "Padre Pio, transform my home." Let's quickly recall the essential points we've covered. The proper placement of crucifixes in your home, the daily practices that activate their protective power, the common mistakes to avoid, and the commitment needed to maintain this spiritual protection. Each of these elements is crucial for experiencing the full benefits of having a crucifix in your home. Think about the testimonies we've shared. Emily's family experiencing complete transformation, John's business being restored, and countless others finding peace and protection through these practices. These aren't just stories. They're evidence of what happens when we properly implement these sacred teachings about the crucifix. Remember how we began this journey, questioning why some homes seem specially protected while others struggle with constant spiritual battles. Now you understand that the difference often lies in how we honor and use the crucifix in our homes. Padre Pio's teachings aren't just theoretical, they're practical tools for transforming your home into a fortress of divine protection. We've come to the end of this powerful revelation about the destiny that awaits those who properly honor the crucifix in their homes. Throughout this message, we've uncovered precious teachings that Padre Pio left for us about this sacred symbol of our faith. But now, it's time to take action on everything you've learned. Sometimes, when we decide to deepen our spiritual life, we face unexpected challenges. These challenges aren't a sign that you're doing something wrong. Rather, they're often confirmation that you're moving in the right direction spiritually. Today could be the beginning of a profound spiritual transformation in your life and home. The choice is yours. But remember what Padre Pio often said, "The cross will not crush you. If its weight makes you stagger, its power will also sustain you." When you make your home a sanctuary of divine protection through these practices, you create what Padre Pio called a spiritual lighthouse, a place of refuge and blessing, not just for your family, but for all who enter your home. Your commitment can have a ripple effect, touching lives in ways you may never fully know. As you make this commitment, be prepared for what Padre Pio called spiritual opposition. He suggested choosing a special day each month, perhaps the first Friday or a day significant to you, to renew your dedication to these practices. This regular renewal helps maintain the spiritual momentum and deepens the protective power of your crucifixes. Remember, this commitment isn't just for your own benefit. Consider making this commitment now as you're watching this video. Take a moment to look at your crucifix, or if you don't have one yet, make a mental commitment to obtain one soon. Say these words in your heart. Lord Jesus, today I commit to honoring your cross in my home. Help me to be faithful to these practices and to make my home a place of your presence. Padre Pio taught that such a commitment should be renewed regularly. Padre Pio taught that consistency in small things leads to major spiritual breakthroughs. This commitment also involves what Padre Pio called holy perseverance. There may be days when you don't feel particularly spiritual or when life gets overwhelming. These are precisely the moments when maintaining your devotion to the crucifix becomes most powerful. It's in these challenging times that your commitment bears the greatest fruit. It's as if you're signing a spiritual contract with God, saying, I choose to make my home a sanctuary of your presence. This commitment, when made with sincerity, activates special graces that help you maintain these practices. But what does this commitment really mean in practical terms? First, it means making a conscious decision to implement everything we've discussed, not just for a few days or weeks, but as a permanent part of your spiritual life. For many of you watching this video, this could be your moment. The teachings you've received today aren't meant to be merely interesting information. They're an invitation to a deeper spiritual journey. Let me share something powerful that Padre Pio taught about spiritual commitment. He said that when someone makes a sincere decision to honor the crucifix in their home, heaven takes notice. Everything I've shared with you about Padre Pio's teachings on the crucifix leads to this essential point: the importance of making a sincere spiritual commitment to these practices. This isn't just about hanging crucifixes in your home, it's about making a decisive change in your spiritual life. Padre Pio often spoke about what he called the moment of divine appointment, that special time when a soul decides to take their spiritual life seriously. Remember, the goal isn't just to experience these benefits for yourself. Padre Pio taught that a home protected by properly honored crucifixes becomes a beacon of light for others. Visitors often report feeling an inexplicable sense of peace and safety in such homes, opening opportunities for sharing these blessings with others. My dear brothers and sisters, we've arrived at a crucial moment in our journey together. However, Padre Pio always emphasized that these results require patience and persistence. He compared it to planting a garden. You don't see the flowers immediately, but with faithful tending, they inevitably bloom. Some people experience dramatic changes quickly, while for others, the transformation is more gradual. What matters is maintaining faithful devotion to these practices. Some even describe feeling a tangible barrier of protection around their living space, like an invisible shield that keeps darkness at bay. In terms of physical manifestations, numerous people have reported improvements in their sleep quality, reduction in anxiety levels, and even unexplained healings. Padre Pio explained that when we create a spiritually protected environment through proper devotion to the crucifix, it affects not just our souls, but our bodies as well. People often report receiving help from unexpected sources, opportunities arising at just the right moment, and problems resolving themselves in ways that can only be attributed to divine providence. One of the most profound results is what Padre Pio described as spiritual protection activation. Many people report a noticeable decrease in spiritual attacks, nightmares, and negative influences in their homes. Not only had the atmosphere in their home changed, but her teenage son, who hadn't spoken to her in months, suddenly approached her one evening to have a heart-to-heart conversation. But the transformations don't stop there. Padre Pio taught that as you continue these practices, you'll begin to experience what he called divine interventions, seemingly coincidental events that bring unexpected blessings. There's a greater sense of understanding and patience among family members. Even long-standing conflicts begin to resolve themselves in unexpected ways. Let me share a powerful testimony that illustrates these changes. A family in Mexico had been struggling with constant discord and financial difficulties. The mother began implementing these practices with the crucifix, and within 3 weeks, she noticed something remarkable. You might begin to notice things you've never noticed before. Moments of grace throughout your day, small blessings that previously went unrecognized. Many people report becoming more attuned to spiritual realities, as if a veil has been gently lifted from their eyes. The third phase of transformation often affects relationships within the home. Families report experiencing what Padre Pio called the healing of hearts. Arguments become less frequent and less intense. Many people report experiencing what Padre Pio called the descent of peace, a gradual but noticeable lightening of the spiritual atmosphere in their homes. It's as if a heavy weight that you didn't even realize was there begins to lift. People often describe this as a feeling of freshness or clarity in their living space. Then comes what Padre Pio referred to as the awakening of spiritual sensitivity. What can you expect when you begin implementing these teachings about the crucifix in your home? Padre Pio was very specific about the transformations that occur, and thousands of testimonies have confirmed his insights. Let me share with you the progression of changes that you might experience in your own journey. The first change often happens so subtly that you might almost miss it. That's why he emphasized that even brief moments of devotion, when done with sincere faith, can maintain the protective power of your crucifix. The key to success with these practices is what Padre Pio called holy persistence. You might not feel any immediate difference when you begin these devotions, but over time, you'll notice subtle yet profound changes in your home's spiritual atmosphere and in your daily life. Before going to bed, kneel or sit before your bedroom crucifix and place your concerns at the foot of the cross. He taught that this act of surrender opens the way for divine intervention during the night hours, when spiritual warfare is often most intense. Remember, these practices aren't about perfection, they're about building a consistent spiritual connection. Padre Pio understood that modern life is busy and full of distractions. Here's a beautiful practice that many people overlook. Padre Pio taught about the power of silence before the crucifix. He recommended spending at least 5 minutes each day in quiet contemplation before your crucifix. During this time, you don't need to say any formal prayers. Simply gaze at the crucifix and allow yourself to be in the presence of divine love. For those facing specific challenges or difficulties, Padre Pio provided a special evening practice. This practice creates what Padre Pio called a spiritual anchor in your day. For families, Padre Pio recommended gathering together before the main crucifix in the home at least once daily. This doesn't need to be a long prayer session. Even a minute of family unity before the crucifix can strengthen the spiritual protection over your household. He suggested making this a natural part of your family routine, perhaps before dinner or before bedtime. As you pass by each crucifix, make a small sign of reverence. It can be as simple as a slight bow of the head or touching your heart. One of the most powerful practices Padre Pio taught was the 3 o'clock devotion. Whether you're at home or work, try to pause briefly at 3 p.m., the hour of Christ's death on the cross. Even if you can only spare a few seconds, look at a crucifix, or visualize it if you're away from home, and say, "Jesus, I trust in your protection." It's like activating a spiritual shield that will accompany you through whatever challenges you might face. Many people who follow this practice report experiencing a notable difference in how their days unfold. But the morning ritual is just the beginning. Padre Pio emphasized the importance of what he called spiritual checkpoints throughout the day. These are brief moments when you consciously acknowledge the crucifixes in your home. As soon as you wake up, before you even check your phone or begin your daily tasks, turn to your bedroom crucifix and make the sign of the cross. He recommended this simple but powerful morning prayer: Lord Jesus, through your holy cross, guide and protect my day. Let every breath I take be an act of love for you. The power of the morning practice lies in its consistency. Padre Pio explained that this simple act sets a spiritual foundation for your entire day. Now I'm going to share with you the daily practices that Padre Pio taught for maintaining and strengthening the spiritual protection of your crucifix. These aren't complicated rituals. They're simple but powerful actions that anyone can incorporate into their daily routine, regardless of how busy their life might be. Let's start with the morning practice. Padre Pio taught that the first moments of your day are crucial for establishing spiritual protection. Visitors often comment on the peaceful atmosphere they feel upon entering. Some even describe it as a tangible presence of divine protection. Padre Pio taught that this protective power has a cumulative effect. The longer you maintain proper devotion to your crucifixes, the stronger the protection becomes. He compared it to building spiritual equity. Every prayer, every act of reverence, every moment of devotion adds to the protective power surrounding your home. Each properly placed crucifix acts as a guardian tower, strengthening the overall protection of your spiritual castle. Padre Pio explained that when all these towers are properly activated through prayer and devotion, they create an impenetrable shield of divine protection. One of the most powerful aspects of this protection is its effect on the atmosphere of your home. Many people report that after properly implementing these teachings, their homes become noticeably different. Remember, these teachings have already helped thousands of families experience profound spiritual protection. Now, let me share something remarkable about the protective power of the crucifix that Padre Pio emphasized repeatedly. He taught that when a crucifix is properly blessed and honored, it creates what he called channels of grace in your home. These channels become pathways through which divine protection and blessings flow continuously. Think of your home as a spiritual fortress. My dear friends, I've compiled all of Padre Pio's essential teachings about the crucifix into a comprehensive ebook called The Spiritual Secrets of St. Padre Pio. This isn't just another religious book. It's a practical guide that contains powerful prayers, detailed instructions, and profound insights that Padre Pio shared about maximizing the protective power of your crucifix. To access this transformative resource, simply click the link in the description below. Then there's the invisible realm, the spiritual warfare that constantly occurs around us. Many people have asked me how to maximize this protective power, and that's exactly why I've created something special for you. At this moment, I want to pause and share an important resource that can help you deeply understand and implement these teachings. Within weeks, not only did the supernatural disturbances cease, but their home became a beacon of peace that even visitors could sense. Padre Pio explained that the crucifix acts as a spiritual lightning rod, attracting divine blessings while deflecting negative forces. He taught that this protection operates on multiple levels simultaneously. First, there's the visible realm, the physical protection of your home and family. This protection, when properly activated, affects every aspect of your life: spiritual, physical, emotional, and even financial. Let me share with you a remarkable story that illustrates this profound protection. A family in Brazil was experiencing severe spiritual attacks, strange noises at night, unexplained illnesses, and constant family conflicts. After implementing Padre Pio's teachings about the crucifix exactly as I've been sharing with you, they reported an immediate change. The good news is that all these mistakes can be corrected, and Padre Pio provided specific guidance for doing so. As we continue, I'll share with you his step-by-step instructions for restoring the full spiritual power of your crucifix if you've made any of these errors. The protective power of the crucifix, as taught by Padre Pio, extends far beyond what most people realize. He spoke of it as creating what he called a dome of divine protection over your entire household. Perhaps the most widespread error is what Padre Pio called spiritual passivity, expecting the crucifix to work like a magical amulet without any effort on our part. He emphasized that the crucifix's power works in conjunction with our faith, prayers, and sincere efforts to live a Christian life. The crucifix amplifies and channels divine protection, but it requires our active participation. Here's a subtle but important mistake: failing to clean and maintain your crucifixes. Padre Pio taught that while the crucifix is a spiritual tool, its physical care reflects our interior reverence. A dusty, neglected crucifix often indicates a neglected spiritual life. He recommended regularly cleaning your crucifixes while saying a short prayer of gratitude. Those who only turn to their crucifix during difficulties are missing the preventive protection it offers when properly honored every day. Another common error is placing the crucifix in inappropriate locations. Padre Pio specifically warned against hanging crucifixes in bathrooms or near areas where improper activities might occur. He explained that this shows a lack of reverence and can actually diminish the spiritual protection in your home. Padre Pio was very clear about this. An unblessed crucifix, while still a holy symbol, doesn't carry the same spiritual authority and protection as one that has received the Church's official blessing. There's also what Padre Pio called the mistake of inconsistency, paying attention to your crucifix only in times of trouble. He taught that the crucifix should be part of your daily spiritual life, not just an emergency resource. Padre Pio taught that it's better to have 3 properly blessed and strategically placed crucifixes than to have dozens placed randomly throughout your home. He explained that this scattered approach can actually dilute the spiritual energy and protection they provide. One particularly serious error involves neglecting to have your crucifix properly blessed. Some people buy beautiful crucifixes but never take them to a priest for blessing. Nay, this happens when people hang a crucifix but never engage with it in prayer or meditation. He explained that the crucifix isn't a passive object. It requires our active participation to release its full spiritual power. Think of it like a powerful radio that needs to be tuned to the right frequency through prayer and devotion. Here's a mistake that might surprise you: having too many crucifixes scattered around without purpose. He would often say with great sadness, people hang beautiful crucifixes in their homes, but never look at them with eyes of faith. This isn't just about physical placement, it's about the intention of your heart. If you have a crucifix in your home merely for aesthetic purposes, you're missing its profound spiritual purpose. Another critical error that Padre Pio observed was what he called spiritual disconnection. Now, my dear brothers and sisters, I must share something very important with you. The common mistakes that Padre Pio warned could actually block the protective power of your crucifix. Some of these errors might surprise you, and correcting them could be the key to unlocking the full spiritual protection you've been seeking. The first and most serious mistake Padre Pio identified was treating the crucifix as mere decoration. If possible, he recommended saying even a brief prayer before your crucifix at these hours. Those who follow this practice often report remarkable experiences of peace and protection. These aren't just arbitrary rules. Each practice is connected to deep spiritual principles that Padre Pio understood through his mystical experiences. He often said, "The cross is the altar of Christ's sacrifice, and your home should be a sanctuary where that sacrifice is honored. This doesn't mean you need to stop and pray each time, but a simple glance and internal acknowledgement maintains what he called the spiritual current of protection. He compared this practice to keeping a spiritual circuit connected and active. One of the most powerful revelations Padre Pio shared was about the 3 o'clock hour, both AM and PM. He taught that these times hold special significance because of their connection to Christ's death on the cross. He recommended a simple but powerful morning ritual. Upon waking, make the sign of the cross while looking at your crucifix and say this short prayer: Lord, through your cross and resurrection, protect this home and all who dwell here. Throughout the day, Padre Pio taught that we should acknowledge our crucifixes when passing by them. But here's something crucial that Padre Pio emphasized. These crucifixes need to be properly blessed. He recommended having them blessed by a priest specifically for the purpose of home protection. When possible, he suggested having them blessed on significant feast days, particularly those related to the cross, such as the Feast of the Exaltation of the Holy Cross. Now, let me share with you the daily practices that Padre Pio taught for maximizing the spiritual protection of your crucifixes. For the bedroom crucifixes, Padre Pio recommended placing them where they're visible from your bed. He explained that the hours between 3 and 4 a.m. are spiritually significant, and having a crucifix visible during these hours provides special protection. He often told his spiritual children that many spiritual attacks occur during sleep, and a properly placed crucifix serves as a spiritual shield during these vulnerable hours. When you place this crucifix, you should do it with a specific prayer of consecration, which I'll share with you in a moment. The crucifix in your prayer space or living room serves a different purpose. This one, according to Padre Pio, should be slightly larger if possible. He taught that this crucifix becomes the spiritual heart of your home. It's here that family prayers should be directed, and it's here that many people report experiencing the strongest sense of divine presence. But here's the key that many people miss. It's not just about where you place them, but how you place them and the spiritual intention behind each placement. For the entrance crucifix, Padre Pio gave very specific instructions. It should be placed at eye level, visible to anyone entering your home. He explained that this creates what he called a spiritual threshold, a point where divine protection begins. What I'm about to share with you isn't widely known, but these practices have been preserved through his spiritual children and verified through countless testimonies of transformation. First and foremost, Padre Pio taught that the placement of your crucifix is crucial. He specifically recommended having 3 main crucifixes in your home, one at the entrance, one in your primary prayer space or living room, and one in each bedroom. But first, you need to understand that what worked for Emily and John wasn't just about hanging a crucifix on the wall. It was about following specific spiritual principles that Padre Pio taught. Principles that I'm about to reveal to you. Now comes the moment many of you have been waiting for, the practical revelations about how to properly use your crucifix according to Padre Pio's teachings. First comes a period of peace, then clarity of mind, followed by improvements in relationships, and finally, material blessings often begin to flow. But he always emphasized that the greatest transformation is the deepening of faith and trust in God that occurs when we properly honor the crucifix in our homes. As we continue, I'm going to share exactly how you can begin this transformation in your own home. 3 months later, he wrote to tell me that not only had his business survived, but it was thriving. More importantly, he said, the atmosphere in my home has completely changed. There's a presence of peace that everyone who visits can feel. What's fascinating about these transformations is how they often follow a pattern that Padre Pio described. But he emphasized that this transformation doesn't usually happen overnight. It's more like the dawn, gradual, but unstoppable. Let me share another brief but powerful testimony. A businessman named John had been skeptical about these teachings at first. His company was facing bankruptcy, and his home life was in shambles. In desperation, he decided to apply Padre Pio's teachings about the crucifix. He understood that when we welcome the crucifix into our homes with proper reverence and understanding, we're not just hanging a religious symbol, we're establishing a point of contact between heaven and earth. The transformation that occurs isn't just spiritual, it affects every aspect of life. Padre Pio explained that when we honor the crucifix properly, it becomes like a spiritual lightning rod, attracting divine blessings and deflecting negative forces. Each story confirms what Padre Pio taught about the extraordinary power of having a properly blessed and correctly placed crucifix in your home. One of Padre Pio's most profound teachings about the crucifix was this: the cross will not crush you. If its weight makes you stagger, its power will also sustain you. Her husband, who hadn't attended church in years, suddenly expressed interest in returning to Mass. Their financial situation, which had been strained for months, started to improve as unexpected opportunities arose. But here's what's truly remarkable about Emily's story. She's not alone. Since sharing these teachings from Padre Pio, I've received hundreds of similar testimonies from people all over the world. She wrote to me saying, "I had a crucifix in my home for years, but I never understood its true purpose until I learned about Padre Pio's teachings. The transformation began the very day I followed his instructions." The first change Emily noticed was subtle, a sense of peace that seemed to settle over her home like a gentle blanket. Then, gradually, other changes began to manifest. The constant arguments between family members began to decrease. Emily had been experiencing what seemed like an endless string of difficulties. Her marriage was struggling, her children were rebellious, and there was a constant feeling of heaviness in her home that no amount of prayer seemed to lift. What makes her story so powerful is how dramatically things changed once she implemented Padre Pio's teachings about the crucifix. But first, you need to understand that what we're discussing isn't about religious superstition. It's about accessing the power that flows from Christ's victory on the cross, a power that Padre Pio knew intimately through his own mystical experiences. Now, let me share with you the story I promised earlier about Emily, because her testimony perfectly illustrates the transformative power of properly using a crucifix in your home. These weren't just spiritual changes, they were tangible transformations that affected every aspect of people's lives: health, relationships, finances, and more. As we continue with this teaching, I'll share with you the exact methods Padre Pio prescribed for maximizing the spiritual protection of your crucifix. In the monastery where Padre Pio lived, every room had a crucifix. This wasn't mere decoration, it was strategic spiritual protection. He taught that the crucifix serves three essential purposes in our homes. First, as a reminder of God's infinite love. Second, as a channel of divine protection. And third, as a source of healing and miracles. Throughout his life, Padre Pio documented countless cases of homes being transformed after properly implementing these teachings about the crucifix. He taught that when we place a crucifix in our homes with faith and proper blessing, we're essentially establishing a spiritual barrier that evil cannot easily penetrate. But here's something crucial that many don't realize. Padre Pio emphasized that the power of the crucifix isn't automatic. It requires our faith, our understanding, and our proper use. He would often say, the crucifix is like a key, but you must know how to use it to unlock its power. When Jesus spoke from the cross saying it is finished, he wasn't just announcing the end of his earthly life. He was declaring victory over all evil forces. Padre Pio understood that each properly blessed crucifix carries within it a portion of that victory. This understanding wasn't theoretical for Padre Pio. During his many battles with evil spirits, which are well documented by numerous witnesses, he would often hold up his crucifix as his primary weapon. In his private teachings, he often referenced the words of St. Paul, "But we preach Christ crucified, a stumbling block to Jews and foolishness to Gentiles, but to those who are called, both Jews and Greeks, Christ the power of God and the wisdom of God." What makes these teachings so powerful is that they're deeply rooted in biblical truth and centuries of Catholic tradition. Padre Pio looked at her with those penetrating eyes of his and asked one simple question: "Where is your crucifix?" When she admitted she had removed it because it seemed old-fashioned, Padre Pio's response was both stern and loving. "Your home has lost its spiritual shield." You see, Padre Pio understood something that many of us have forgotten in our modern world. The crucifix isn't just a symbol of our faith, it's a channel of divine power. This wasn't just because of his reputation as a miracle worker, or the fact that he bore the stigmata, the visible wounds of Christ. It was because every word he spoke came from profound spiritual experience and divine wisdom. Let me share with you something extraordinary that happened in San Giovanni Rotondo, where Padre Pio spent most of his life. A woman came to him in tears, explaining how her home had become a place of constant turmoil and spiritual oppression. Remember, this isn't about superstition. It's about authentic Catholic teaching and the wisdom of a great saint who bore the wounds of Christ himself. Padre Pio's understanding of spiritual warfare and protection was unparalleled. And today, you'll learn his secrets about the incredible destiny that awaits those who properly honor the crucifix in their homes. When Padre Pio spoke about the crucifix, even the most skeptical listeners were moved to tears. The good news is that Padre Pio left us specific instructions about how to use the crucifix as a powerful spiritual weapon against these forces. Stay with me until the end of this video, because I'll be sharing not only these sacred teachings, but also a step-by-step guide on how to properly place and use your crucifix to maximize its spiritual protection. Plus, I'll reveal 3 common mistakes that might be preventing you from receiving all the blessings that come with this holy symbol. He understood its true power, a power that has been forgotten by many in our modern world. Today, we're going to recover this ancient wisdom and learn how to properly harness the spiritual protection that comes from having a crucifix in our homes. What makes this message so urgent is that we're living in times of intense spiritual warfare. Every day, I receive messages from people struggling with unexplained problems in their homes, problems that often have spiritual roots. Right now, I want you to pay close attention because what I'm about to reveal could be the key to unlocking divine protection and blessings in your life. If you're ready to receive this powerful message, write in the comments, "Padre Pio, pray for my home." This simple act of faith will be the first step toward the transformation I'm about to share with you. Some people might tell you that a crucifix is just a symbol, but Padre Pio knew better. She had been experiencing inexplicable difficulties in her home, constant arguments, financial problems, and a feeling of spiritual heaviness. Then she discovered these teachings about the crucifix and decided to apply them exactly as Padre Pio instructed. What happened next was nothing short of miraculous, but I'll share her complete testimony later in this video. He revealed that a home with a properly blessed crucifix becomes a fortress of divine protection, a channel of miracles, and a portal of heavenly blessings. But here's the shocking truth. Many people are unknowingly blocking these blessings because they're not using their crucifixes correctly. I received a message just last week from Emily, a devoted follower of our channel. My dear brothers and sisters, what I'm about to share with you comes directly from Padre Pio's private teachings, revelations that have been changing thousands of lives across the world. Before we continue, I want you to look around your home. Do you have a crucifix? Because after watching this video, you'll understand why this sacred symbol is much more than a mere religious decoration. Padre Pio once said something remarkable about the crucifix that left his spiritual children in awe. Have you ever wondered why some homes seem to be protected from all evil, while others face constant spiritual battles? Today, I'm going to reveal something that Padre Pio, one of the most powerful saints of our time, shared about the extraordinary destiny of those who keep a crucifix in their homes. This isn't just another video about religious symbols. This is about a profound spiritual truth that could transform your life forever.